Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Fort Lee Baseball, as it's a rivalry showdown this afternoon as Cliffside Park comes calling for the second of two meetings in this regular season between these two sides. Fort Lee coming off a big-time victory their last time out on the road at Cliffside Park on Monday afternoon, a 15-7 victory that afternoon. So they're trying to sweep away the Red Raiders here in their second regular season matchup of 2023. Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Long, joined alongside by Dimitri Nanis, and we're so glad that you could join us for Fort Lee Baseball here, courtesy of the Fort Lee Athletic Department's YouTube channel. Fort Lee is playing their best baseball this season. They come into today's contest winners of 4 of their last 5 games of the season. They're 5-12 overall on the year, 3-4 in divisional play in the Big North American Division. That is third best in the division. Ridgefield Park has already clinched the regular season title. They're 6-0-1 in divisional play. Dumont in second place, 5-2, with Fort Lee right behind. Dwight Morrow 2-6. They are in fourth place, and Cliffside Park rounding out the field, 1-5-1 in league play. Cliffside Park has been struggling this season, 3-15-1 overall record for Mike Scarsafava, the head coach. They've lost their last 3 games against Fort Lee. They're looking for their first win at Fort Lee since May 20th of 2021. This will be the final divisional game of the season for both sides. Fort Lee will be sending number 18, Kyle Ratzker, to the mound here today pitching. Fort Lee will be in their home whites. Cliffside Park in their road red with the white pants, and the first pitch of the day is a strike for Ratzker, as that will be a 0-1 count. That one is driven to center field. Nice play there in center field. Ranging over to make the play is Perez for the first out of the game, as Caden Muller, number 3, was the leadoff hitter for Cliffside Park and flew out to center field with the first out of the afternoon. So Ratzker gets the leadoff man retired here to start off this afternoon's festivities. As stepping in is going to be a second place hitter, Freddie Fland, number 12. Fland, a freshman, is hitting .260 on the season, has driven in 10 runs on 13 hits. Swings and misses through that one. .81 degrees at opening pitch here today, feeling like a nice summer afternoon, as that missed on the inside. Fort Lee a season ago finished second in the American Division, going 4-3-1 in league play. They could get their 4th league win of the season this year with a win here this afternoon, sweeping away Cliffside Park. Fort Lee here at the Sugarman Sports Complex have gone 3-6 so far this spring, as Flan tries to drive that one, but does so foul down the right side, as that goes out of play. Full count, 3-2 against the second place hitter. Swing and a miss. Couldn't find the outside corner there, as that time Ratzker doing a good job of keeping Fland off balance. That's his first strikeout of the afternoon. And now there's 2 away with no one on base here in the top of the first. That brings up Nick Ortiz, number 27, third place hitter in this Cliffside Park lineup. Ortiz takes that first pitch for a strike, 0-1. Ortiz is a freshman, .318 batting average on the year for the Frosh, 12 RBIs, 14 hits. Went 2 for 3 and drove in 2 runs against Fort Lee when these two sides met earlier in the week on May 8th. That one is bounced in the dirt to the outside, as Ortiz did not chase after it. 1-2 the count. That miss on the outside edge. The infield defense for Fort Lee was thinking that was going to be a called third strike. They were starting to make their way over to their third base dugout side. Ortiz lays off that pitch in the dirt, and now the count is run full. "3-2 is grounded to the shortstop. Going to be handled on one hop, and making the play over in time is Fort Lee for a 1-2-3 inning. Nice pitching work there. Marcus Lee gobbling up that ground ball and getting it over in time to finish off the top of the first. We head to the bottom of the first. No score between Cliffside Park and Fort Lee as you're watching Fort Lee baseball here on YouTube. As we head to the bottom of the first inning, the starting pitcher here today on the mound for Cliffside Park is going to be number 5, John Raftopoulos. The freshman is getting the start here this afternoon, as he's going to be trying to contend with a Fort Lee offensive lineup that's starting to really catch fire late in this regular season. Again, the Bridgemen have won 4 out of their last 5 games, and in those wins, they swept Dwight Morrow 12-4 and then 8-7. Defeated Dickinson here at home 13-1, and then went on the road to Cliffside Park, put up 15 runs in a 15-7 win. So this offense is starting to come alive. The only loss that we saw in between those 4 wins was that tough defeat that we last broadcast here at home last Friday against Teaneck. That saw the Bridgemen battle back and pull close in that one, only to have a 9-run inning really start to have Teaneck pull that one away and end the game in mercy roll fashion. Big reason why that this offense has been taken to a different level for Fort Lee is because of this man at the plate, number 8, Marcus Lee. Lee has been red hot since getting that position as the leadoff hitter in the lineup. The sophomore was 1.11 for 16 with 9 runs scored in a 4-game stretch. Raftopoulos' delivery is grounded down to second base. That'll be handled and thrown over for the first out of the game, so Marcus Lee is retired to start off the ball game. One away as we're still searching for the first hit of the game for either team. That'll bring up Luke Senator. Senator doing the catching here today for Fort Lee, hitting from the right side. Senator takes high and outside the zone for a ball. Senator went 2 for 5 against Cliffside Park earlier this week. One out with nobody on base, scoreless in the bottom of the first inning. Senator pops that one up. That'll be in center field. And Cliffside Park will range underneath it for the putout. And now there's 2 away with no one on base. Play was made by Abraham Tabar, the center fielder. That'll bring up the third place hitter here today for Fort Lee and Franco Rosario. As Rosario was laying off that first delivery, Rosario playing down at first base here this afternoon. Was 0 for 3 with a run scored in Monday's win. A little chin music there, nearly hit Rosario, as he'll be brushed off the plate there by Raftopoulos. Hot shot too short, bobbled a couple of times, and that's going to cost Cliffside Park the opportunity at a potential 1-2-3 inning. Rosario will reach courtesy of the error at short. And there's a 2-out base runner now here for Fort Lee. That'll bring up number 19, Jack Dorcom, the freshman who went 1 for 4 with a run scored and a stolen base in Monday's win against Cliffside Park. So again, an error on the shortstop, costing Cliffside Park a chance at their own 1-2-3 inning. Dorcom still getting ready in the right side of the batter's box with his base runner down at first base. 2 outs in the inning. Pickoff attempts not in time. Defense for Cliffside Park. Left field is Flan. Center field, Tabar, as we saw, made a fly out on the second out of the game. Right field is Freitas. Around the infield defense, down at third base is Rinaldi. Shortstop is Muller. Second base, Sanchez. First base is Ortiz. Doing the catching is Jonathan Vuitton. As Cliffside Park trying to get their 4th win of the season. Runner is breaking from first. The throw down to second base, not going to be in time. That's going to be airmailed into center field. That's going to allow Rosario to not only steal second, but slide in safely to third base, all with 2 outs here in the bottom of the first inning. So a great opportunity now with a runner down in scoring position, not that far away at third base for Fort Lee to take that initial lead of the ball game. Good aggressive base running there by Rosario. Now it's up to Dorcom to see if he could be the one to drive him in. Looping curveball broke a little too high and outside the zone. And a swing and a miss, strike three. So all that for naught as Fort Lee tried to produce a run there with 2 outs in the inning, but with the strikeout, the man is stranded down at third base. We head to the top of the second inning, still scoreless in this rivalry showdown between Cliffside Park and Fort Lee here on YouTube. Marco Rinaldi will lead things off for Cliffside Park to start the top of the scoreless second inning. Rinaldi, first ball swinging, will line that down the right field line. That's going to be a base hit, just in fair territory, as Rinaldi will leg out his second double of the season. Rinaldi, the junior, who's a .341 batting average on the season, went 1 for 4 with a run scored on Monday in the loss against Fort Lee. Starts things off with the first base hit of the game for Cliffside Park. They have a runner in scoring position with nobody out. Here against Kyle Ratzker. So Rinaldi gets the first base hit. Now a curveball will make Victor Freitas duck underneath that one. Good curveball there. Chopping that one into the dirt was Freitas. The freshman with a .200 batting average on the season went 3 for 4 with a double, an RBI, and a run scored on Monday. Lee trying to keep Rinaldi close to the bag. Down at second base. Again, a curveball breaking a little too high. Leadoff double was down the right field line, just hooked in fair territory. Swing and a miss as Freitas was out in front of that one. They'll complete the throw down to first base. Will be the second strikeout of the afternoon for Kyle Ratzker. That's a big first out to begin the second inning. The runner still down at second base. That'll bring up the pitcher, John Raftopoulos, number 5. Raftopoulos will pop that one out of the complex and across the street in someone's front yard. That'll be a foul ball, 0-1 the count. Raftopoulos, a .167 hitter on the season, went 1 for 1 in his lone at-bat. Also produced an RBI against Fort Lee on Monday. Has an RBI opportunity, fouls that one off the catcher. And he's quickly behind in the hole, 0-2. Hitting from the right side as Ratzker trying to secure his second out of the inning. Again, not fishing outside with a dirt ball there. 1-2 the count against Raftopoulos. Taking 2 in tight to even the count now at 2-2. Rinaldi with the short lead off of second base. Led off the inning with a double. Again, that's missed in the dirt. It's going to be a throw down to third. Aggressive base running there by Marco Rinaldi. He's in safely. And now Cliffside Park threatening with a runner at third with only 1 out in the inning. Ratzker has lost his location the last couple of pitches here against his fellow pitcher. Trying to hunker down here for the second out of the inning. And he gets it. A huge strikeout there. Raftopoulos swung over that sinking pitch. Now there's 2 outs with a runner down at third. Second consecutive strikeout of the inning. Third K of the day here for Kyle Ratzker. And he has a pathway out of the inning. Runner down at third, but with 2 away. That brings up the catcher hitting in the 7th spot, Jonathan Vatan. Vatan, .222 batting average on the season, 10 RBIs, and Ratzker is loving his curveball here today. Another breaking pitch. Vatan went 1 for 4 with a run scored on Monday. Leans and sees that one just miss outside. And Senator again doing the catching and making sure that doesn't get away from him. Runner down at third with 2 outs here, top of a scoreless second inning. That also missed to the outside. 3-2 the count. Upcoming now to Vatan. Ratzker trying to strike out the side. This one is driven deep to right field. Pushing back close to the wall. That's going to bounce over the wall, on top of the wall, and that's going to drive in a run. Second double of the inning for Cliffside Park. After that time, Fort Lee was just running out of some real estate. They kept on tracking back to the wall, and then that bounce off of the top of the wall and back into the playing surface. So an RBI double that time by the catcher, Jonathan Vatan, and Cliffside Park has struck for the first run of the game here in the top of the second inning. Pair of doubles here this afternoon in the second inning. That'll bring up Derek Sanchez now as the next hitter. Sanchez, a freshman, getting the start at second base here today. Sanchez takes that one low. So after giving up that opening double to begin this inning, Ratzker then struck out the next 2 hitters he faced, but could not get that third and final out while stranding a runner on base. Now he's going to be trying to limit the damage to only 1. Runner is off with the pitch as that's lined into the glove. Rosario down at first base for the third and final out of the inning. But Cliffside Park strikes for the first run of the game on an RBI double to right field by Jonathan Vatan. That'll send the Red Raiders into the lead as we head to the bottom of the second inning. 1-0 lead over Fort Lee. 1-0 lead now for the visitors after a pair of base hits in that top of the second inning. Most important one, the RBI double by Jonathan Vuitton, his third double of the season, driving in his 11th RBI in the process. And stake Cliffside Park out to an initial 1-0 lead. That'll bring us now to the bottom of the second. Fort Lee had a runner down at third base in the first inning, but had that runner stranded on base. Still in search of their first base hit of the day against John Raftopoulos. Begins inning number 2. Max Greenberg, the second baseman for the Bridgemen, will lead things off. Greenberg 2 for 2 with a pair of doubles on Monday in the win on the road at Cliffside Park. Max is sophomore, also a member of the varsity basketball team that we saw him on a couple of our broadcasts from this past winter. We thank you again for supporting Fort Lee Athletics and joining us on these free internet broadcasts. As Raftopoulos trying to get his second inning of work underway on a high note. Greenberg not chasing after that one low into the outside. Good eye at the plate there for Max. So DJ Traore, the DH here today, waiting on deck for the Bridgemen. That's a beautiful base hit for Greenberg. Into left field, was all over that offering in the middle of the plate as he deposited that one into shallow left field for the first base hit of the afternoon for Fort Lee. And the leadoff runner is on safely to begin the bottom of the second. As I mentioned, that'll bring up DJ Traore, the senior, who had a run scored and a walk earned against Cliffside Park. Traore laying off that high offering to the upper left-hand corner for a ball, 1-0. Greenberg with a short lead off of first base. They look back to first. Greenberg dives head first back into the bag without a throw being made, and I think the first base coach is trying to say that should have been a balk. Umpires are coming together to confer with one another. Fort Lee coaching staff adamantly opposing what that last move was. Maybe they're saying that did not break the rubber and did not step off and then looked over, but they say that there is no change in the play. No extra base awarded to Fort Lee, and again, first base coach is being vociferous in his opposition of a lack of a call right now. Traore kind of got caught in between there. Didn't know whether or not to lay off or go through it, and that check swing still ended as a strike. Haven't seen Greenberg off and running just yet. They throw back again, and that pickoff attempt gets away from the first baseman. Ortiz was not able to cleanly get to it, so that's as good as a steal there for Greenberg and Fort Lee. They move the runner down into scoring position with nobody out here in the bottom of the second. On the bad pickoff throw that got away from Nick Ortiz, the first baseman. So now a runner down in scoring position, tying run at second with nobody out. Traore went down low, came away empty. Now 2 strikes against him. That one broke low. Good time. Good job there by Traore this time of laying off that pitch. As this game has now come to a crawl a bit here in the bottom of the second. A lot of movement, not a lot of pitches. Nobody out, runner down at second. That pitch in the wheelhouse, but Traore doing a good job of backing away. Traore with the ground ball. Getting back to second base is Greenberg. The throw is completed over in time by Moeller. As he froze that runner down at second, Greenberg doing a good job of making sure he wasn't picked off on the play. So a simple ground ball. That's the first out procured in this inning by Cliffside Park. Still a runner down at second base for Fort Lee. That'll bring up the right fielder, number 15, Ruben Mansilla. Mansilla, the senior, 0 for 2 with a run scored on Monday in the win on the road at Cliffside Park. Looping curve taken a little too high. 1-0 the count. That pitch by Raptopoulos now missing low. Fort Lee has had 2 base runners so far in this game. First inning, courtesy of a fielding error by the shortstop, allowed Franco Rosario to reach safely. Eventually got his way to third base after a stolen base and a throw into the outfield, but was stranded down at third. That is a hot shot right back to Raptopoulos, who got a piece of it, knocked it down, looped over his throw to first base, did get there in time, but that was a closer play than it needed to be. Credit Mansilla with his hustle down the first base line. Raptopoulos very fortunate that Mansilla did not just get that play at the bag and have runners at the corners with only 1 out. Instead, it's a runner at third, but once again, just like the first inning, with 2 outs in the inning. Max Greenberg with the first hit of the game for Fort Lee. He's the base runner down at third base, as that brings up the left fielder, Jake Lee. Lee, a sophomore, getting the start. Taken high for a ball, 1-0. Fort Lee started off their season losers of the first 8 games, but they have bounced back quite nicely since that beginning of the season, including winning 4 out of their last 5 contests. As that falls in, breaks in for a strike. Their first win of the season came against Wallkill Valley back on April 22nd. And since then, a pair of wins against Dwight Morrow, a win against Dickinson, and a win against Cliffside Park has given them 5 wins on the season. And they're looking to finish their regular season 4-4 at 500 in league play. Swing and a miss, and a healthy swing at that by Lee. Trying to chase that outside corner pitch. Fort Lee had a runner at second with nobody out here in the bottom of the second inning. They don't want to waste that great opportunity to deadlock this score at least at 1-1. Runner down at third with 2 outs here in the inning. Curveball broke high. Full count now to Jake Lee. Emmanuel Perez, the 9th place hitter, the center fielder today, waiting on deck if Lee can continue this inning. Raptopoulos kicks in, delivers. Bounces that one in the dirt. That's low to the outside for ball 4, and there's runners at the corners with 2 away here in the bottom of the home second for Fort Lee. First walk surrender this afternoon by Raptopoulos. bring up Emmanuel Perez. Perez had a run scored as well as producing an RBI on Monday against Cliffside Park. Chance here for the Fort Lee center fielder to tie this game up at 1-1 with a base hit. That pitch got away to the outside. That's going to allow Jake Lee to scamper down to second. Now 2 runners in scoring position for Fort Lee, and that's going to drive in at least one of them. They make the turnaround third, and the second run will score in the process as well. Emmanuel Perez delivers there as both Greenberg and Lee score. And Fort Lee has taken their first lead of the afternoon on the 2-run single by Emmanuel Perez here in the bottom of the second. So Fort Lee does not waste that leadoff hit by Max Greenberg. Now goes back to the top of the order, and Marcus Lee. Second hit of the game, second hit of the inning for Fort Lee with that single that drove in a pair by Emmanuel Perez. And earlier in that bat with that wild pitch, that allowed Jake Lee to get down to second base, and he scored on that base hit. And unable to make the play at second base was the shortstop for Cliffside Park with all of his momentum carrying him to one way. Mueller tried to reverse fields and dive with the ball in his glove to touch and force out at second base. Except he was a little off the bag. And racing down there in time was Perez to negate what would have been that third and final out of the inning. I would credit Marcus Lee with the infield hit. That should be the third hit of the inning for Fort Lee, so the inning continues for the Bridgemen. After the infielders meet with one another, and it looks like a protest going on right now with the Cliffside Park head man, Mike Scarzafava, talking things over unsuccessfully with the home plate umpire and also with the second base umpire. Fort Lee led by their head coach, Peter Kraljic, trying to sweep away their arch rivals. They've taken their first lead of the ballgame. Now they're trying to tack on here. Runners at first and second with 2 outs in the bottom of the second inning, and Luke Senator coming up. Senator flew out to center field back in the first inning. He's 0 for 1. Senator will get a base hit to center field as well. Perez makes the turnaround third. He'll come in to score. The throw to third not in time. Senator will take the extra bag based on where the throw went. So officially, Senator will be given a double, an RBI double at that. 3 runs home here for Fort Lee, all with 2 outs in the inning. And the Bridgemen have staked themselves out to a 3-1 advantage. So Senator makes Cliffside Park pay, delivers the base hit to shallow center field, took the extra bag after the throw was to third base and not in time. So Lee is at third, Senator behind him at second. And this inning can really continue to go here for Fort Lee with a base hit. And as soon as I say that, they flare it out to center field. That'll fall for a base hit. That's going to drive in 2. And a huge inning here for the Bridgemen. Franco Rosario with a 2-run single to center field. Looked like the ball might have gotten stuck in the glove of the center fielder for Cliffside Park as Tabar had trouble making that exchange from his glove to his throwing hand. Double clutch it, had no chance of then throwing out that trail runner in Senator. So Lee and Senator both score on the base hit by Rosario. He drives it his second RBI of the game. And Rosario is off and running. On that pass ball, there was no chance of throwing out big number 7. Rosario on base for the second time in this game. He reached safely back in the first inning on the error. And the wheels starting to come off here for Cliffside Park in the second. A 5 spot put on the board here for Fort Lee, all with 2 outs in the inning. Jack Dorcom He's stepping in as the 9th hitter of the inning for Fort Lee. Dorcom struck out swinging back in the first inning to end the first. Getting the start at third base this afternoon for Fort Lee. Raftopoulos with a tough inning here for Cliffside Park, and the inning will continue. A base hit to left field. Rosario takes the wide turn. The throw gets away from the cutoff man. He'll score the 6th run of the inning for Fort Lee. And the offense is surging here for the Bridgemen. They've put up 6 runs with 2 outs here in the second inning. And have taken a stranglehold on this one, a 6-1 lead over Cliffside Park as Jack Dorcom delivers the RBI double. And again, Fort Lee is making the most of these miscues on the errant throws by Cliffside Park. They are taking the extra bags whenever opportunities arise. And they just continue to get base hits, driving in runs, and then taking the extra bags. As now Fort Lee has batted around, and it's Max Greenberg. Greenberg led off the inning with a base hit. Came around to score on that clutch hit by Emmanuel Perez. And Fort Lee has not taken their foot off the gas so far here in this inning. It's been all Bridgemen in the bottom of the second. Again, all this run production, the 6 runs in this game, all coming with 2 outs in the frame. As Greenberg doesn't chase that delivery by Raftopoulos, a name that we heard earlier this week in the softball broadcast. Another Raftopoulos, we would imagine his sister on the softball team, as Fort Lee was victorious against the Red Raiders on Monday's broadcast at home. Great start to this one here at the Sugarman Sports Complex for the baseball team. Trying to win for the 5th time in their last 6 games. Traore waits on deck if Greenberg can continue this inning. Runner down at second base. 6 runs already home for the home team. Breaking pitch missing low and to the outside left corner. So Raftopoulos has been struggling here. He's been pitching to contact. Only 1 strikeout in this game. Has only walked 1 hitter as well. But he has not been helped out by his defense, and some of these hits have just been able to evade the infield defense as well. Runner is going. That is jettisoned on a line drive to right field, and camped out underneath it was Freitas for the 3rd and final out of the inning. But the damage has been done by Fort Lee. The Bridgemen rally with 2 outs in the inning to produce 6 runs there in the bottom of the second. They take a 6-1 lead as we head to the top of the 3rd, as you're watching Fort Lee baseball on YouTube. Top of the third inning, first ball swinging, and that should be one pitch and one out, and it is, as that is a fly ball to right field. Mansilla underneath it for the putout. As Abraham Tabar, the center fielder, did not waste any time in his first offering of his first at-bat, and there's one away to start the third inning. Cliffside Park produced a pair of doubles in that last inning in the second inning that drove in eventually their first run of the game. They led 1-0, but then the wheels came off in the bottom of the second inning as Fort Lee rallied after having 2 outs against them in the inning and produced the 6 spots to take that 6-1 lead here into the top of the third. Another line drive hit. That's going to fall in between the 2 outfielders and roll all the way to the fence. Cliffside Park will settle for their third double of the game, as that's by their shortstop, Caden Moeller. Moeller now 1 for 2 in this game after flying out to center field back in the first inning. So all 3 hits this afternoon for Cliffside Park have been doubles, as that went to the wall in right center field. And there's a runner in scoring position with 1 out here in the top of the third. That'll bring up the left fielder, Freddie Fland. Fland was a strikeout victim in his first plate appearance back in the first. He's 0 for 1 today. And Cliffside Park not wasting any time. They are offering at each of the first pitches they have seen out of the throwing hand of Kyle Ratzker to start off this third inning. Popped up into the top of the cage with the backstop. 0-1 the count against Fland. Fort Lee not only trying to sweep the season series, but trying to make it 4 straight wins in a row against Cliffside Park in this rivalry. That curveball got away, with the runner also breaking a little bit off of second base, but he ventured back in safely. Fland, again, a .260 hitter, went 1 for 2 with a run scored, drew 2 walks in the loss on Monday against Fort Lee at home. Batting from the right side against Ratzker, the right-hander. Again, a little chin music will back him off the plate. Fland, a freshman. A couple of freshmen in this starting lineup here for Cliffside Park. That is fly to the outfield. Greenberg also venturing back to see if he can make a play, but Mansilla was trying to roam in to make the play. Charged a little too hard and overran the pop-up. That fell in front of him. That's going to be a base hit. And now Cliffside Park with runners at first and second with 1 out in the inning. So Mansilla was racing after it. Greenberg was backpedaling from second base to see if he can make a possible play in shallow right field. Now that's bouncing the dirt. That'll get away from the catcher and move the runners down to second and third, respectively, as Nick Ortiz, the first baseman, stands in. Cliffside Park trying to respond after giving up the 6 runs at the bottom of the second and trying to put some more runs on the board here in the top of the third. 1 out in the inning, 2 runners in scoring position. So again, on that pop-up, Mansilla, I think, kind of overran it, then tried to get back in time, but it fell right behind him. And that's going to be a base hit to center field. That's going to plate home 1. May get another, but they put the stop sign down at third base for the runner. It was making a wide turn around the third base bag. It's going to be an RBI single for Nick Ortiz, and Cliffside Park now has back-to-back innings with runs. It's a 6-2 deficit for the visitors. Fourth hit of the day for Cliffside Park. First, that it is not an extra base hit, as Marco Rinaldi will now step in from the left side. Rinaldi started off this game with a base hit, a double, back in the top of the second inning. He's 1 for 1 this afternoon. Trying to check the swing with that high delivery. Again, Cliffside Park in the red uniforms with white pants, in the all-white The black and orange trim is Fort Lee. Trying to sweep away Cliffside Park here in the regular season. As Ratzker now missing to the lower outside corner. Runners at the corners again with one out. Ratzker would love a ground ball here to maybe get a double play to get him out of the inning. There's an inside corner strike taken by Rinaldi. 2-2 the count against the starting third baseman for Cliffside Park. Looping slow curveball, strike three looking. Ratzker dialing up his fourth K of the game. 2 outs now in the inning and still runners at first and third. That'll bring up Victor Freitas, the right fielder, who was a strikeout victim himself, went down swinging back in his first plate appearance in the second. Tries to move out of the way of that one as it went low in the strike zone and out for a ball, 1-0. Freitas sees another pitch, bounce in the dirt. Good job by Senator of getting a block in front of that one, not allowing the runner at first base to venture down to second. This is the last road game of the season for Cliffside Park. They will come back home and finish out their slate of regular season games. As that one is driven and once again is going to be deposited in between the center fielder and the right fielder. That'll drive in another run on another double. That already is the fourth double of the game for Cliffside Park as Victor Freitas will drive in another run in the inning. Third run of the game for Cliffside Park and his 2-out RBI double. Fifth hit of the game now for Cliffside as they pull back to within 3 with now runners at second and third and the potential tying run coming to home plate and John Raftopoulos. The pitcher trying to help his own cause out here. A pair of doubles in this inning. 2 doubles were given up in the last inning as well. And now it's going to be a bit of a meeting at the mound as Fort Lee trying to find their way out of this inning. 2 outs in the inning. It was once a 6-1 lead. Now that lead has been trimmed down to 6-3. Tabar led off the inning with a pop-up to center field on one pitch. Then Moeller had a double. Fland reached on an error in the outfield. Ortiz had an RBI single. Rinaldi was struck out. And then Victor Freitas with a 2-out double that drove in a run. Raftopoulos is 0 for 1. He struck out swinging back in the second inning. As that is grounded into the backstop. 1-2 the count. So Ratzker now has a chance here. One more strike to limit the damage to 2 runs on the board and get his offense right back at home plate. Runners at second and third. 2 outs here. 1-2 count. 6-3 lead for Fort Lee. That pitch is too low. Fastball missed low and outside. 2-2. 2-2, just getting a sliver of it to stay alive was Raftopoulos. Three hits in the inning for Cliffside Park. That's bouncing the dirt again. We've seen that a couple times so far this afternoon for Ratzker. Getting a little too amped up, trying to get that fastball by the hitter. He has 4 strikeouts to his name so far in this game. Has not walked a hitter yet. Trying to get out of this jam. Runners at second and third, full count now. With 2 outs. Here's the pitch. as that is driven into the backstop, so we'll do it all over again with a full count. Jonathan Vatan, this starting catcher, waiting on deck. Vatan drove in the first run of the game with an RBI double for Cliffside Park in the last inning. And Ratzker will walk the hitter that time. Again, he just spiked that ball into the dirt. There was no chance of making it into the strike zone. That's his first walk given up in this game. And now the bases are loaded with 2 outs here in the top of the third. Jonathan Vatan, 1 for 1 with an RBI double back in the second inning. Drove one that went off the wall in right field. As Ratzker now starting to lose his control, missing to the outside, 1-0. That one is grounded into left field for a base hit. That scores 1. The throw is going to be to second base. That's going to allow another run to score. And Jonathan Vatan now has 3 RBIs in 2 plate appearances in this game. And a big inning of offense here for Cliffside Park. They bounce back immediately after they gave up 6 runs in the bottom of the second inning. They've played at home 4 runs here in the top of the third. And with 2 outs as well, so almost like mirror images with one another, and that's going to be the last pitch of the game for Kyle Ratzker. He will give up the baseball. A new pitcher will be coming in for Fort Lee. We'll be back after this pitching change, as Fort Lee trying to hold on here to their lead as we are with 2 outs in the top of the third. So the pitching change has been made. Keizo Katayama comes into the game now for Fort Lee to try to secure that third and final out of the inning. Cliffside Park with the 4 spot here in the top of the third. They've turned a 6-1 deficit into a 6-5 deficit. Tying run is down at second base. Go-ahead run is at first. Katayama dealing with Derek Sanchez. Sanchez, the second baseman, 0 for 1, lined out to Franco Rosario down at first to end the second inning. This is the 9th hitter of the inning for Cliffside Park. Katayama bounces that one in the dirt to the outside. Good block there by Senator. Diving back into second base safely was Cliffside Park. No real move was being offered. Keizo Katayama, senior, 7.88 ERA on the season. Again, looking for that third and final out of the inning. On a swing and a miss there. Gets that second strike against Sanchez. Sanchez, a freshman for Cliffside Park. 8th hitter in the lineup. Abraham Tabar, who led off this inning with a fly out to center field. He's waiting on deck. Cliffside Park also trying to bat around. As that is taken too high, and that's going to be ball 4. The bases are loaded once more. And now, Cliffside Park has batted around in this inning. Second walk of the inning for Fort Lee pitching. And that brings up Abraham Tabar. Tabar wasted little time at the first pitch he saw to begin this inning and flew out to center field for the first out of the inning. Taken for a ball now. So the tying run is down at third base here for Cliffside. Katayama missing wide of the mark as well. He's still looking for his accuracy since coming in relief of Kyle Ratzker. 2-0 count in favor of Tabar. Nowhere to put him as well with the bases loaded and 2 outs. That's taken high for ball 3. And now Cliffside Park 1 ball away from coming all the way back 5 runs down to tie this game at 6-all. And Katayama walks him on 4 straight outside the zone, and that'll walk in the run. And it is a brand new ball game. 6-6 your score, and Cliffside Park still with the bases loaded and 2 outs here in the top of the third. Back-to-back walks given up by Katayama. 3 walks in this inning. That brings up the top of the order. That's a long fly ball, but able to be underneath it to make the putout in left field for the third and final out of the inning. But Cliffside Park rallies themselves to tie this ball game up at 6-all as we head now to the bottom of the third. Bottom of the third inning now. Fort Lee has squandered away that 5-run lead that they held after the second inning and is back to work here offensively. As Traore will lead things off in the bottom of the third. The DH grounded out to short his first time up in the second. 0 for 1 so far this afternoon. Cliffside Park scoring once in the second, 5 runs here in the third. New life for Raftopoulos, who has been given some serious run support. 22 combined runs between the two sides on Monday at Cliffside. Already 12 runs between these two teams who were not fully through 3 innings of play. Traore will ground that one down to second base. Ranging over is Sanchez, and he'll throw him out for the first out of the bottom of the third. One away, and that'll bring up number 15, Ruben Mancilla. Mancilla grounded back to the pitcher his first time up in the second inning. He's 0 for 1. He has shifted from playing in right field to left field now, as he secured that third and final out to end that top portion of the third inning. Mancilla 0 for 2 with a run scored on Monday in the win on the road. Swinging wildly over that breaking pitch, as Raftopoulos trying to quickly go to work here and take down the first 2 hitters that he faces. And that curveball will also break in the inner edge of the part of the plate, as Mancilla was trying to kind of shield himself and turn into the pitch, and in doing so, gave up his at-bat as well. That's going to be strike 3 called. Raftopoulos with only his second strikeout of the afternoon. But now there's 2 away and no one on base. Now batting is Keizo Katayama. First plate appearance of the afternoon for Katayama. Batting here in the 8th spot. Jake Lee had been that first hitter in the 8th spot and drew a walk in the second inning. Keizo, a senior, 2 for 5 with a home run, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored against Cliffside Park on Monday. Came to this game to relieve Ratzker as the second pitcher. Got that final out of the inning, but not before giving up the tying run, when he had the bases loaded walk that he gave up. Katayama flares that one over the head of the shortstop. Muller into center field for a base hit. Katayama, not wasting any time, makes the turn, dives headfirst into second base. That was all hustle there by the senior, Keizo Katayama. What should have been just a single turns into much more, as the senior just hustled his way all the way around first base and went headfirst into second. And Fort Lee now has the go-ahead run in scoring position. Katayama was not slowing down a beat that entire time, as he had on his mind just stretching that single into a double, and he did so successfully. Third double of this game already for Fort Lee. Eighth hit of the game for the Bridgemen. So a 2-out base runner here for Fort Lee. Fort Lee doing their best work with 2 outs in an inning. Pickoff attempt as Katayama got back into second base safely. Brings up Emmanuel Perez. Perez drove in a pair of runs back in the second inning on an RBI single, a 2-run single. That's going to be a strike despite the catcher, Vatan, dropping that delivery. So Perez a chance once again to stake his team out to an advantage. He cashed in with 2 outs in the bottom of the second inning. Again, the pickoff attempt gets away as the throw was not on line. Katayama slow to get to his feet. Might have collided a little bit there with Muller, the shortstop, who was trying to come in and time that throw and make the catch as well. Coach Graujic will head out to check in on his star senior. See the health of Keizo Katayama, who has really done a little bit of everything in his Fort Lee career. Shortstop, outfielder, catcher, pitcher. He's been in the DNA of this program and certainly is going to be missed when this season comes to an end and his career comes to an end as well. We saw Keizo on one of our bowling broadcasts earlier this winter as well, in his first year as part of a varsity bowling team here at Fort Lee. Another pickoff attempt down to the second base bag. Once again, Katayama got in. The ball got away, but not far enough for Keizo to think about getting up and heading down to third. Perez popping that one skyward into the top of the lip of the cage that surrounds the backstop and behind home plate. Might have saved him from what would have been an eventual pop-out to the outfield. Can Perez do a little 2-out magic once again at home plate for Fort Lee and give the Bridgemen back the lead? Go ahead, run down at second. Bounce in the dirt to the far side. Good job by Vatan of keeping that close. Not allowing that pass ball to allow Katayama to venture down to third. 8 hits, 3 of which were doubles in this game. Katayama had the third double. He's standing at second. Raptopoulos catches that lower quadrant of the strike zone, called third strike, second strikeout of this inning, third strikeout of the day as Perez is retired to end that scoring threat in the third inning. We head to the top of the fourth. 6-6 your score between Cliffside Park and Fort Lee here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. 6-6 game as we head to the top of the fourth inning here at the Sugarman Sports Complex in beautiful Fort Lee, New Jersey. 80-degree summer-like weather here near the end of the regular season. Final meeting of the year between these two arch rivals. Cliffside Park looking for their fourth win of the season. Fort Lee looking for win number 6 and what would be their 5th win in their last 6 games. Playing their best baseball of the spring. As Keizo Katayama is still in his relief duties right now, taking on number 12, Freddie Fland. The curveball broke to the outside, and Katayama fell down in the midst of that pitch. Fland struck out swinging in the first inning and then reached on an error in the outfield. His last time up in the third. There's a strike in the inner corner. Ground ball, going to be fielded by Rosario himself down to the first base bag, and the leadoff man is retired to begin the top of the fourth inning. Six runs on 6 hits in this game for Cliffside Park. Fort Lee with 6 runs on 8 hits. Brings up the first baseman, Nick Ortiz. Ortiz had an RBI single in his last plate appearance. Takes that curveball. Ortiz also grounded out to short back in the first inning. He's 1 for 2. Oh, and 2, a couple of curveballs that broke in the bottom of the strike zone, 4 strikes. 0-2. Ortiz fouls that straight back on the fastball. Ratzker started this one. Couldn't get out of the third inning. Went 4 innings the other day against Cliffside Park. So we got the start here after going in relief work the other day. Katayama kicks and fires. That is chopped down to the third base side. Nice throw over in time. Dorcom getting it to Rosario. And there's 2 away with no one on base here in the top of the fourth inning after the 5-3 ground out. Batting now is Marco Rinaldi, number 8, the third baseman. Rinaldi 1 for 2, had a double in the second, struck out looking in the third. There's a strike on that curveball again, just a looping curve, very slow. But it's lulling a couple of these Cliffside Park hitters to sleep. Katayama missing a little too low that time, 1-1 the count. Ratzker retired Cliffside Park in order to begin this game back in the first inning. Katayama again with that looping curve, now ahead of the count, 1-2. Cliffside scoring 1 run in the second, 5-run explosion in the third. And that time, the curveball got away from him, and Katayama actually hit the batter with 2 strikes against him, and Marco Rinaldi will take his base. Second time he has reached base in this game. And a 2-out base runner now for Cliffside Park, still continuing their offensive attack here in the top of the fourth. Victor Freitas will step in. 1 for 2 this afternoon. Struck out swinging in the second. Last time up in the third. Had an RBI double. Katayama's pickoff attempts not in time. Freitas fouls that into the backstop. That was a nice curveball there. Freitas was kind of trying to twist his body again, trying to buy that call as a ball inside corner. Instead, it drifted from out of the strike zone and fell inside at the very end. 0-2 pitch. Chopped once again. It's going to be a tough play down to the third base side. They have to hurry. Throw over. Not in time. Infield single there for Freitas. That was not like the last ground ball to Dorcom where he could just set on one bounce and fire over. He had to make a charge in that play, and that was going to be tough to beat out the running exploits of Freitas down the first base line. So now a bit of a rally here with 2 outs in the inning by Cliffside Park. They had a hit batter and now an infield single by Freitas. As Raftopoulos once again trying to help his own cause out. 7th hit of the game now for Cliffside Park. Katayama's loving that breaking pitch in this game. He's throwing a lot of curveballs, not really feeling his fastball. 0-2 count now against Raftopoulos. Runners at first and second, 2 away. 6-6 game here in the top of the 4th. Swing and a miss, strike 3. And Katayama gets out of harm's way there with the punch-out. Raftopoulos was chasing what he thought was going to be a fastball, got the off-speed instead. So runners left on base. There's 2 of them. We head to the bottom of the 4th inning in this game that remains tied 6-6 in this rivalry showdown. Bottom of the 4th inning. Fort Lee looking to recapture control in this one. It's a 6-6 ball game. Cliffside took the initial lead at 1-0. Fort Lee then would rumble their way to a 6-1 lead at one point. First ball swing, grounded down to short. Moeller will loop that one over and pull his first baseman off the bag to allow Marcus Lee to lead off the bottom of the 4th inning with the on-base opportunity. That's going to be another throwing error against the shortstop. He had time, as much as Lee has great speed going down that first base line. That was a hard hit ball right to the shortstop. He had more time to set and fire, and because he had to kind of lollipop that one over to first, it dragged his first baseman off the bag, and Lee is on safely. So as I was mentioning, Cliffside Park took the first lead of the game 1-0. 6-run bottom of the second gave Fort Lee a 6-1 lead, which Cliffside Park would answer immediately with a 5-run top of the third. Runner is off, going down to second base. The throw on one hop, not in time. Lee got in safely, and now he's got a stolen base and is in scoring position with nobody out here in the fourth. Luke Senator had an RBI double his last time up in the second. We'll try to pop that one up into the outfield. Ranging over to make the play is Tabar in center field. Not far enough for Lee to think about tagging and going from second to third. So a fly out for Senator, and there's one away in the fourth inning. This will be our second to last baseball broadcast of the spring. We will close out our broadcast season on Friday, May 19th, here at the Sugarman Sports Complex, as Cresskill will come to take on Fort Lee. And we'll have our final softball broadcast next Monday, as Dumont will take on Fort Lee in a Big North American Division showdown. We cannot thank you enough for your kind dedication and support of these Fort Lee student athletes throughout the course of this entire 2022-23 school year. It has been an honor and a privilege to bring you the sights and sounds from the fall, winter, and spring seasons. All for free here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. And again, special thanks to my partner in crime here, Dimitri Nanis, who's been with me with all of these different broadcasts, producing and getting us set up for these streaming broadcasts. Seems to be the umpire going over to the Fort Lee dugout side, and I don't know what this could be about. Stopping the play right now. I don't know if he was hearing something that he didn't like to hear from the Fort Lee dugout side. Little razzing going on, but temporarily stopped play. Franco Rosario stepping in. First baseman has been on base safely twice in this game. First inning courtesy of an error, then the second inning a 2-run single. Has another RBI opportunity with Marcus Lee standing down at second base. He reached courtesy of an error to lead off his bottom of the fourth. That's skipped in the dirt. Futzon doing a good job of keeping that in front of him. Rosario induced into a fly out. That's going to be to right field. Lee is going to tag this time from second base. He will slide in safely at third. That is something that he was unable to do in that last fly out, which would have been a big difference. Would have probably allowed them to score a run if he had been able to tag and get to third with only one out. Now he's at third, but with 2 outs in the inning. That'll bring up Jack Dorcom, third baseman. 1 for 2 in this game. Struck out swinging in the first. RBI double in the second. Cliffside Park trying to strand that go-ahead run down at third base. As that's taken a little too high. 2-0 the count in favor of the Fort Lee freshman. Plays off that pitch as well. It's now 3-0 in his favor. Marcus Lee led off the inning with An error against the shortstop, stole second base. Senator flew out to center field. Rosario just flew out to right field. Lee tagged up from second, got down to third. That's where he currently resides. Dorcom can continue this inning. Max Greenberg waits on deck. Dorcom fouls that one straight back. Fort Lee looking for their first run since that 6-run second inning. There's a pop-up. Cliffside Park trying to get out of the inning, and nearly disastrous end to that inning. Freitas lost his hat and almost done exactly what Fort Lee did earlier in the game, overrun a pop-up, but he had enough time and was able to settle down and get underneath that one in right field for the third and final out. So Fort Lee strands another runner down at third base. It's still a 6-6 game as we head to the top of the fifth inning here at the Sugarman Sports Complex in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Top of the fifth inning. Cliffside Park fouling that one off with Jonathan Vitton, who's had a nice afternoon. 2 for 2 with 3 RBIs for the catcher. 6-6 ball game here. Couple of big innings for both sides with crooked numbers on the board. Accounting for the 6 runs of this one, a 5-run top of the third for Cliffside Park, 6-run bottom of the second for Fort Lee. Fort Lee led by as many as 5 runs in this game. Cliffside Park led only once in this one. It was a 1-0 lead. As Katayama gets the strikeout called against Vitton. Again, he's got that curveball working, and the first man is retired to start the top of the fifth inning. Katayama struck out the last man he faced in the fourth inning. Now has the sixth strikeout for Fort Lee pitching in this game. That's his second strikeout since coming into relief of Kyle Ratzker. Brings up Derek Sanchez, the second baseman. Sanchez 0 for 1 in this game, lined out to the first baseman in the second, and then also drew a walk in the third. Sanchez hitting 8th in the lineup here today for Cliffside Park. Saws that one off and fouls it straight back. The final road game of the season for Cliffside Park. That's a ground ball down to Greenberg at second base. That's going to be over to first for the second out of the inning. So now there's 2 away with no one on base. as Abraham Tabar now will step in. Tabar had 2 at-bats in that third inning after he led things off. Flew out to center field, and much like this at-bat, first pitch swinging will ground this one out to the shortstop. So a 1-2-3 inning for Keizo Katayama and Fort Lee's pitching. We head to the bottom of the fifth. It still remains tied up at 6-6. Still tied game as we head to the bottom of the fifth inning. As Fort Lee trying to recapture the lead in this game. Leading things off is Jack Dorcom here for the Bridgemen in the bottom of the fifth inning. Correction, it's Max Greenberg leading things off here for the Bridgemen in the bottom of the fifth. Greenberg had 2 at-bats in the second inning, led off the inning with a single, came around to score, and then flew out to right field to end that 6-run inning. Greenberg hitting from the right side. Fort Lee has produced 8 hits in this game. A couple of errors by Cliffside Park has also gotten them a couple of base runners on base, but Greenberg is retired via the backwards K to begin this bottom of the fifth inning. That'll bring up Sajije Traore now. A couple of ground outs in this game for Traore. Grounded out to short back in the second inning. Grounded out to second base his last time up in the third. Hitting 6 in this lineup here this afternoon for Fort Lee. Swings through that offering from Raftopoulos, who has settled down quite nicely since surrendering that 6-run second inning. Has posted 3 scoreless innings in his 4 innings total of work. One out, nobody on base here in the bottom of the fifth. Traore trying to go the opposite way with it, but just hits that one foul to the right side of the first base line. Again, both teams relatively young. A lot of underclassmen in their varsity rosters this season here in the spring. Traore fishing after one. That was well outside the zone. That's going to be another strikeout for Raftopoulos. Second consecutive punch out of this inning. He's now up to 5 strikeouts in the game. And now there's 2 away with no one on base here in the home bottom of the 5th inning for Fort Lee. 6-6 still your ball game. As that's a ground ball down to second base. And Mansilla is retired. So a 1-2-3 inning put up by Raftopoulos as well. We remain deadlocked at 6-6 as we head to the 6th inning of play here in Fort Lee. Katayama's first pitch of the 6th inning goes a little too high as the Cliffside Park dugout starts to get loud, trying to cheer on their team in a comeback effort. 6-6 your score as we start to the top of the 6th inning. Second consecutive matchup between these two arch rivals on the season. Fort Lee came away with a thunderous victory on the road their last time out. It's the most runs produced in a single game this season for the Bridgemen, 15 runs in their 15-7 win on May 8th. Looking to make it win number 4 in a row against Cliffside Park. And there's a strikeout produced by Katayama. So Keizo Katayama coming into this game out of the bullpen for Fort Lee. He had that struggle in the beginning, walked the first 2 hitters he faced, including walking in the tying run. But since then, he has settled down nicely. 3 strikeouts now for Katayama. He's retired 4 straight hitters in a row, dating back to the 4th inning. So Mueller, the shortstop, is retired. Now the second place hitter is Freddie Fland. Land grounded out to the first baseman his last time up in the 4th. Reached on an error in the 3rd and struck out swinging in the 1st. Land sends that one straight backwards for a foul ball. 7 strikeouts in the day for Fort Lee pitching. Ratzker, who's the starter, at 4 strikeouts. But he fell into a tough 3rd inning and gave up 5 runs after his team had plated him to a 6-1 advantage. Katayama has given up 1 hit since coming into this game. That was a base hit to Freitas in the 4th. And a swing and a miss, another strikeout for Katayama. give him 4 strikeouts in this game. So go along with that 1 base hit and the 2 walks. Now there's 2 out with nobody on base in the top of the 6th. Last season at home here, Fort Lee won in a walk-off 12-2 Mercy Rule game on May 2nd against Cliffside Park. Looking for their 4th win of the season here at home. They have 3 of their 5 wins on the year here at the Sugarman Sports Complex. It brings up Nick Ortiz, the first baseman. 1 for 3 this afternoon for Cliffside Park as Katayama bounced that one well in front of home plate for a ball. Ortiz grounded out to short back in the first inning, had an RBI single in the third, and last time up in the fourth, grounded out to the third baseman, Dorcom. Katayama trying to make it 7 batters retired in a row. Give his team an opportunity with the game still tied heading into the bottom of the 6th inning. Ortiz hitting from the right side against Katayama. Curveball missed on the outside, and that's going to be ball 4. So Katayama loses Ortiz and loses the chance at another 1-2-3 inning. First base runner for Cliffside Park since Marco Rinaldi got hit by a pitch in the 4th inning, and the aforementioned Rinaldi will now step in and bat from the left-hand side. 3rd walk of the game given up by Katayama. And first since the 3rd inning. Naldi will ground that one, taken by Dorcom, stepped in front of his shortstop, and that was the only play to make. So the third baseman gets Fort Lee out of the inning, and through 6, we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. It's still a 6-6 ball game between Cliffside Park and Fort Lee. Bottom of the 6th inning, 6-6 your score. So after both teams were exploding for runs early in the game, a couple of goose eggs put on the board so far between both sides. Looking for our first run since the 3rd inning when it was Cliffside Park erupting for that 5-run inning. Keizo Katayama, who had a double back in the 3rd inning. By all rights, that should have probably been just a single, but Katayama busted out of the batter's box, went right down through first base, did not hesitate at all, and turned a single into a double with a head-first slide. He was going to be stranded, though, at third base, as Fort Lee was not able, once again, a couple times in this game, they've stranded runners at third. Not been able to push across those extra runs. Raftopoulos has done a nice job of staying in this game as well. It looked like he wasn't long for this world back in the second inning when he gave up the sixth spot. But he has worked through the heart of the order a couple of times and quickly induced some pop-ups and ground balls and has limited his pitch count as well. Katayama hitting from the right side. He of the home run the other day against Cliffside Park in the 3 RBI performance. Katayama fouls that into the top of the backstop. Last hit of this game was the Katayama double for Fort Lee back in the third inning. Fort Lee with 8 hits in this game, all of which came in the first 3 innings. Katayama trying to add to that total with a blooper, but that stays up enough time, though, for Flan to venture over to make the play in left field, and that's going to be the first out at the bottom of the 6th. That'll bring up the 9th place hitter for Fort Lee and Emmanuel Perez. Perez had an RBI, a 2-run single back in the second inning, struck out looking in the third. He's 1 for 2. As Perez takes low. As Perez lays off that pitch from Raftopoulos on the outside edge. Been an evenly played game in this rivalry edition. As Perez popped up over in center field for the putout to Barr, and there's 2 away. John Raftopoulos has not only settled down, he is rolling at this point. That is 8 Fort Lee hitters in a row retired by Raftopoulos. Last time that he had a base runner reach against him was when Marcus Lee led off the 4th inning and got on because of an error by a shortstop. That's Lee trying to hammer that one. He was trying to jettison that one down the left field line. Just hit into the lip again of the backstop. Lee once again has got it on base a couple of times in a game. Had a single in the second, reached on the error in the 4th. Also grounded out to second base to start off this afternoon. Lee swinging at that high pitch. Now behind the count with 2 strikes against him. Leadoff hitter here for Fort Lee, who's been red hot near the end of this regular season. He'll step out, trying to stop this groove that Raftopoulos has been in. 6-6 the score. 2 outs, nobody on here in the bottom of the 6th. As that's bounced low, Vatan will field it back to his pitcher. As Lee will hit that one down to third base, backhanded, and a nice play there by Rinaldi, getting across the diamond in time to Ortiz for the 5-3 putout. So Raftopoulos once again with a 1-2-3 inning. He's retired 9 in a row as we head to the top of the 7th. 6-6 your ball game here in Fort Lee. Top of the 7th inning, anyone's ball game here. All knotted up at 6-all. As Keizo Katayama once again back to the mound for Fort Lee. Going against Victor Freitas. Freitas, ground ball, handled by Lee. Can he get it over in time? And he does. Nice pick at first base by Rosario as well. That was a tough play deep in the hole at short by Marcus Lee. Knocked it down initially and then still had that composure and the arm strength to get it over to his first baseman in time. And Rosario did a good job of stretching out in front of first base and handled the low throw. One away to begin the top of the 7th. Leadoff man is retired. Second hitter for Cliffside Park. They're going to launch this one. That's going to roll all its way to the wall. Rounding second, making his turn to third. He's going to get in standing up there, wave him all the way home. A chance at an inside the park home run, and it is a home run for John Raftopoulos. An inside the park home run for Cliffside Park. And the Red Raiders have taken back the lead for the first time since it was 1-0 in the second inning. Raftopoulos got all of that one. A sky-high one that sent the outfielders scurrying back to the fence. He had some blazing speed when he got to second base. I thought for sure he was just going to be content with standing in at third, but he got the wave home, and the throw was offline to begin with, and Raftopoulos scores a home run for the starting pitcher, who has been dynamic here, the freshman, with his first home run of the season. Cliffside Park leads 7-6. Ground ball gets the center field. That's a base hit for Vuitton. A 3-hit performance this afternoon for the catcher. Now back-to-back hits in the 7th inning with one out against Katayama. 9 hits in this afternoon for Cliffside Park. Trying to snap a 3-game losing streak in this series. Split the series in the regular season against the Bridgemen. Brings up Derek Sanchez, 8th place hitter. 0 for 2 with a walk here today, as Katayama throwing it over to his first baseman. Rosario did a good job of getting a piece of it to knock it down and avoid getting it into foul territory, which would allow the base runner to head down to second. There's the curveball that has the batter off balance as Sanchez went down wildly swinging there. Almost went down to a knee. There's a ground ball. Greenberg can't get to it as it goes into right field. That's another base hit for Cliffside Park. And they will have runners at the corners with one out here in the top of the 7th, trying to add to their one-run advantage. First hit of the game for Sanchez. Again, 3 consecutive hits since that leadoff man was retired in the ground ball. An inside the park home run and a single by Vuitton, followed by a single by Sanchez. Now a meeting going on between the coach, the base runners, and the upcoming hitter here for Cliffside Park. Katayama remains in this game for the Bridgemen. The hitter is Abraham Tabar, the center fielder. Tabar is 0 for 2 with a walk. Runners at the corners, one out. Katayama would love nothing more than a ground ball double play to end this inning. Steps off the mound, and it was a fake to third and a look back to first. But there was no base running play going on in the first movement. Tabar looked like he was holding the bat maybe in a bunting position, but took the bunt back, took that inside for a ball, 1-0. That one skipped in the dirt. Now 2-0 the count. Katayama looking for outs any way he could procure them. 3 straight hits in the inning have plated home the go-ahead run for Cliffside Park. They're looking for more insurance runs. That pitch also sailing high, and now Tabar in a great position here. He's ahead of the count 3-0 with runners at first and third and 1 out in the inning. There's a pitch that was taken all the way for a strike right down Main Street. 3-1 the count. Top of the order waiting on deck for Cliffside Park and the shortstop Moeller. And he will get a chance to bat now with the bases loaded after that walk was given up to Tabar. 5th walk of the game for Fort Lee pitching. And a prime opportunity here for Cliffside Park not only to give them some insurance runs and build on their 7-6 advantage, but also potentially to open up this game. Bases loaded with 1 out. As Fort Lee trying to diagnose a plan here between the battery of Senator and Katayama. Caden Muller is stepping in. Leadoff hitter is 1 for 4 this afternoon for Cliffside Park. Had a double back in the 3rd inning. Couple flyouts, struck out swinging his last time up in the 6th. Infield playing in for Fort Lee, trying to cut off any potential second run of the inning down at home plate if it's hit to them. Ball missed in the dirt, 1-0. Katayama has walked in a run with the bases loaded earlier in this game, and now he's behind 2-0. And Katayama came in back in the 3rd inning with 2 outs in the inning. He walked Derek Sanchez and then walked in a run, walking Abraham Tabar. 2-1 now the count against Muller. He walked Tabar again here just moments ago here in the top of the 7th. That one is fouled into the top of the backstop, and now 2 strikes against Muller. 2-2 the count, 1 out, bases loaded. If you can't get a ground ball, a strikeout would be fabulous as well here for Katayama in this scenario. Instead, it's a fly ball to right field. Traore will make the catch. That's the 2nd out. Tagging from 3rd, the throw home. It's going to be cut off and not in time. And a big insurance run there on the sacrifice fly by Caden Muller. Has now staked Cliffside Park out to an 8-6 advantage here with 2 outs and runners at the corners at the top of the 7th inning. Productive out for the Red Raiders. They get that 2nd run home here in the top of the 7th. As Flan fouls that one straight back. Flan 0 for 3 today. Reached on an error back in the 3rd. Couple of strikeouts. Also grounded out to the first baseman in the 4th. With a runner going off with the pitch, that's fouled back, so he'll have to venture back to the first base bag. Again, runners at the corners. 2 outs, and Katayama a strike away from getting out of the inning. 7 unanswered runs in this game for Cliffside Park. And there's a swing and a miss, and that is strike 3. And that will be the end of the inning. But the inside the park home run by John Raftopoulos gave Cliffside Park their 7-6 lead. They tack on another run on a sacrifice fly by Caden Muller. We head to the bottom of the 7th. 3 outs remain for Cliffside Park to try to snap this losing streak against Fort Lee. Last 3 outs of this game now for Fort Lee. They have to rally here in the 7th inning. Largest deficit they have faced in this game, the 2 runs. Luke Senator, the catcher, leading things off in the bottom of the 7th inning. Senator had an RBI double back in the 2nd. Senator with a rip shot. That's going to be a base hit over the head of the shortstop into left field for a leadoff single. And that will bring the tying run to home plate here in the bottom of the 7th inning as Raftopoulos beginning his 7th inning of work. Senator now with his 2nd hit of the afternoon. That also happened to be the first base hit for Fort Lee since the 3rd inning. Raftopoulos had retired 9 straight hitters in a row before Senator led off the bottom of the 7th with that base hit. That brings up Franco Rosario. Rosario had a 2-run single in the 2nd inning. Reached on an error in the 1st, flew out to right field in the 4th. How aggressive does Fort Lee get here with that tying run at home plate? Do you try to steal a base? They've been successful each time they've been trying to steal here today. Do you get that runner down to second base in scoring position? Here's a chopper down to 3rd. Only play is to 1st, and that's going to be the first out of the inning. So Rosario grounds out. Nice play there by Rinaldi. Runner moves down to second base. 1 away in the bottom of the 7th. That'll bring up Jack Dorcom. Dorcom 1 for 3 in this game. RBI double in the 2nd. Struck out swinging in his first plate appearance in the 1st. Flew out to right field in the 4th. As that is bounced low in the dirt. 1-0 the count against Dorcom. Again, the last win for Cliffside Park here on the road at the Sugarman Sports Complex. You have to go back to May 20th, 2021. And they came here and came away with a 10-3 victory. Last year, they lost by 10 runs here on the road. That is bounced in the dirt. That's going to allow the base runner to head down to 3rd base. So Senator is down at 3rd with 1 out in the inning. That is where that huge insurance run looms rather large right now. Rather than having it be the potential tying run down at 3rd, that sacrifice fly that we saw at the top of the 7th gave Cliffside Park a little room to work with. But if Raftopoulos were to walk the hitter now, then he would walk the potential tying run and move them on base. Another chopper. That one gets into left field for an RBI single for Dorcom. Fort Lee getting a run back here in the bottom of the 7th inning. And it's an 8-7 ball game. Jack Dorcom with his 2nd RBI of the afternoon. And that might be the end of things here for Raftopoulos as he's pitching on fumes. Looks like Cliffside Park might be making a pitching change here as they're trying to finish off this game with the final 2 outs. But Fort Lee now has pulled back to within 1 and have the tying run on base with 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th. New pitcher into the game for Cliffside Park is number 22, Ryan Rojas, the junior. So Raftopoulos went 6 1/3 innings, could not get through the entirety of this game. Has given up a run in this bottom of the 7th. As Max Greenberg comes to home plate as the potential winning run for Fort Lee. Greenberg has 1 hit on the day. That was to lead off the 2nd inning. Flew out to right field. Also struck out looking in the 5th. He's 1 for 3. Tying run is the man down at first base as they check in on him to make sure that he's not trying to steal. 8-7 lead for Cliffside Park. Fort Lee scoring their first run since back in the 2nd inning when they put up 6 runs. As Rojas missing high that time against Greenberg. Been a fun one here at home. Fort Lee would love nothing more to find a way to a walk-off victory. That one caromed all the way to the backstop, ricocheted back to the pitching mound, and allows Dorcom to head down as the tying run in scoring position now with Fort Lee 1 base hit away from maybe thinking about deadlocking this one at 8-8. Rojas has not been throwing strikes since coming this game out of the bullpen. Steps off the mound to keep Dorcom chasing back to the second base bag. DJ Traore waiting on deck for Fort Lee. Greenberg can keep it going. That time, that's a balk called. Rojas fell off the front of the mound while still holding on to the ball, did not deliver it. That was the easiest of balks to call if you're the umpire behind the pitcher. That will give Dorcom an extra base, and now the tying run is down at third with 1 out. And a simple fly ball will tie this game up. Greenberg chased off the plate. And Rojas is struggling mightily to find the strike zone. 3-1 the count against Greenberg. Missing low, ball 4. And the potential winning run is now on base for the Bridgemen. As Max Greenberg takes that walk, runners at the corners with 1 away. DJ Traore will stride to home plate 0 for 3 this afternoon. A pair of groundouts and a strikeout in his last at-bat. And a step off the rubber again, and Rojas, just from our vantage point, has just not looked comfortable at all right now since coming into this game. There's a much-needed first pitch strike against Traore. If you're Fort Lee, the bare minimum you have to come away with here is at least the tying run. Tying run is down at third with 1 out, so a fly ball can get you that sacrifice fly that would tie this game up at 8-8. Again, Rojas stepping off the mound, faking, looking over to third to see if there was going to be a running play behind. He's got to be careful. Another balk would tie this game up without even the use of a sacrifice fly. That missed to the outside. 1-1 the count. Ground ball could be the game. On to second for 1, on to first. The throw is offline, and that's going to score the tying run for Fort Lee. The throw to second, also not in time. And the Bridgemen using another error against the Cliffside Park shortstop, stay alive in this game. That was a tailor-made, unassisted double play that would have ended the game for Cliffside Park. They got the ground ball right back to the middle. Moeller, the shortstop, stepped on second base, had more time to throw, rushed it, airmailed the throw past first base. That allowed the runner to score the tying run from third. And then on the tail end of the play, Traore got into second base safely. So the game is tied at 8-8, and now Fort Lee with a base hit could have a thunderous walk-off fashion of a win. A costly error that could have and should have ended this game for Cliffside Park. Now Ruben Mancilla has the chance to be the hero for the Bridgemen. They have rallied from down 8-6 to score twice here in the bottom of the seventh to match the 2 runs at the top of the seventh for Cliffside Park. 1-1 the count against Ruben, who's looking for his first hit of the day. 0 for 3. That's taken too high. Now 2-1. Again, these two sides have been mirror images of one another throughout the course of this game. Big innings aplenty, and now, of course, each team scoring 2 runs apiece here in the 7th. Swinging and maybe getting a foul tip of that one. Now 2 strikes. Ryan Rojas thought he had gotten that ground ball to end this game. Got 1 out in the course of the play, but then the ensuing relay to first was too high. That has kept this game alive for Fort Lee. And Mancilla is struck out swinging as he will strand that potential winning run down at second base. 7 innings not enough as we will head to extra innings here at the Sugarman Sports Complex. All knotted up at 8 runs apiece. Eight in the 8th inning now here, as the sun still shining brightly on Fort Lee. Both teams have been trading the lead throughout the course of this game. Cliffside Park took the early advantage 1-0, scoring a run at the top of the second. Fort Lee would respond with a 6-run bottom of the second to take a 6-1 lead But that was a short-lived 5-run advantage after Cliffside Park plated 5 runs at the top of the third to tie up the score at 6-all. Neither team would score for the next couple of innings before we got to the 7th inning. Cliffside Park would then produce 2 runs in the top of the 7th, take an 8-6 lead into the bottom of the 7th inning. And with 1 out in the inning, Fort Lee would eventually be able to produce 2 runs to tie it up and force extra innings now here as we head to the top of the 8th inning. Katayama still pitching here for Fort Lee. Again, he was not the starting pitcher, came in relief. Gave up the 2 runs in the top of the 7th. Now trying to get to work here, and Cliffside Park will start off the top of the 8th inning with a leadoff single for Nick Ortiz. 11th hit of the game now for the Red Raiders. Fort Lee in that 7th inning. RBI single by Jack Dorcom. And then on the ground ball by DJ Traore. A throwing error by the shortstop. And it's been a tough day at the office defensively for Moeller of Cliffside Park. 3 errors in this game. If he had completed that relay throw after tagging second base himself, the game would have been over. It would have been an 8-7 lead on a ground ball double play to end the game. Instead, his throw was offline from first. That allowed the tying run to score. Fort Lee had a chance again also to bat with the runner, the go-ahead run and the winning run in scoring position, but Mancillo struck out swinging to end that bottom of the 7th. Leadoff runner is on here to start off the top of the 8th for Cliffside Park. As Marco Rinaldi, the left-hand hitter, bats here. Rinaldi has 1 hit in this game. That was a double back in the 2nd inning. Struck out in the 3rd, got hit by a pitch in the 4th, and grounded out to 3rd his last time up. As he will send this one into shallow left field with a base hit. And Silla struggling with that one, finally recaptures possession of the baseball. But now back-to-back singles by Cliffside Park have the Red Raiders with runners on and nobody out. Starting to find holes in the defense against Keizo Katayama's pitching. 12 hits now in the game for the visitors. Freitas, first ball swinging, sends that one deep, and unable to make the play is Perez. Runner will take the turn from 3rd. He's going to be waved home. A couple of double clutches there by Lee, and it's going to be an RBI double for Freitas. And Cliffside Park has taken back the lead. Freitas with his 2nd RBI double of the game, 3rd hit collected this afternoon. It's now a 9-8 lead for the Red Raiders. And they've got runners at 2nd and 3rd with nobody out here, still continuing on in the top of the 8th. Raftopoulos, who had an inside-the-park home run his last time up in the 7th inning. Now we'll send that on a line drive to Perez in center field, tagging from 3rd. The throw home is offline. Another run comes home for Cliffside Park. And the Red Raiders have struck for 2 runs here in the top of the 8th inning after striking for 2 runs in the top of the 7th. They now lead 10-8 with a runner down at 2nd and 1 out in the inning. Raftopoulos now with 2 RBIs in this game. Now Jonathan Vuitton. 3-hit performance in this game, 3 RBIs as well. Curveball. Sent out to center field. Again, another line drive, this time into the waiting glove of Perez, who's playing a shallow center field. 2 outs in the top of the 8th. Runner down at second base. 2 runs were not enough for Cliffside Park to bring home the win in regulation in 7 innings. Can they get another run to add to that insurance? That run is standing down at second base potentially for Derek Sanchez. Little chin music there as Sanchez will back off. 3 hits in the inning. A single, and then an RBI double. Pickoff move behind at second. Then a sacrifice fly to center field. Brought in the second run of the inning. Swing and a miss. That was one of the best fastballs that Katayama has produced. Going upstairs and tying Sanchez in knots. That pitch missed low and off the plate. First extra inning game that we have broadcast so far this spring. As Katayama gets the benefit of that low outside corner for strike 3 looking. 2 more runs put on the board here in the 8th inning for Cliffside Park, and once again, they will try to finish this one off as they head to the bottom of the 8th, leading 10-8 on top of Fort Lee. Third different pitcher in this game for Cliffside Park. Starting off the bottom of the 8th inning, it's going to be number 6, junior Marcos Garciga. He'll take the baseball and try to finish off this game in the final 3 outs. Cliffside Park scoring 10 runs in this contest, 1 run in the second, 5 runs in the third, 2 in the top of the 7th, and 2 in the top of the 8th. Fort Lee with 8 runs in this ball game, 6 runs in the second, 2 more in the 7th at forced extra innings. Cliffside Park trying to zero in on what would be their 4th win of the season. Fort Lee trying to avoid what would be their 13th loss of the year. Fort Lee will have Keiso Katayama, one of their best hitters, leading things off for the Bridgemen to begin the 8th inning. It'll be the 8, 9, and 1 hitters due up for Coach Kraljic's side. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in to another edition of Fort Lee Athletics here on the Fort Lee Athletics YouTube channel. This is the Fort Lee baseball season. Rivalry game against Cliffside Park, a big North American Division rival. Fort Lee has won 4 out of their last 5 games on the season. 3-4 in conference action in the American Division. Cliffside Park looking for what would be only their 2nd divisional win of the season. And this the final league game for both sides. Katayama 1 for 2 this afternoon. Did not get the start in the field. As that's a strike for Garciga against Katayama. Queso had a double in the third and flew out to left field his last time up in the sixth. Katayama fouls that straight back. Now 2 strikes against Queso. The senior who will be attending Tufts University. An outstanding academic school in this nation. It's to be determined if Queso is going to look to maybe continue his baseball career in college as well. We wish him all the best, and we'll be getting a chance to cover him and the baseball team one final time this year on the 19th against Cresskill. Katayama chops it down and past the second baseman into right field for a leadoff single to begin the bottom of the 8th inning. So Katayama's second hit of the day. 11th hit overall for Fort Lee. Brings up Emmanuel Perez, the 9th place hitter. Perez got a 2-run single back in the first at bat in the second inning. Subsequently is struck out and flown out to center. That ball got past the catcher who didn't know where it was. Katayama will venture down to second base. Fort Lee, just like what they were doing in the 7th inning, not going quietly into the ninth. Cliffside Park's defense has not been up to par as well. Mistakes have led to a couple of runs in this game for Fort Lee. Again, most notably, what should have been the game-ending double play in the 7th inning led to new life and forced this game into extra innings. Fort Lee needs 2 runs, though, to extend this game even further. Fly ball. Shallow center field, getting a late break on it, and it's not able to make the play. That's going to allow Katayama to get down to third, and Perez is safe at first. I was kind of surprised at how late a break that Tabar got on the ball. Off the bat, as we saw it from our vantage point from deep in center field, we saw that it was not going to be a long fly ball. That was a pop-up, but Tabar was kind of frozen. Didn't want to get by him. But in doing so, he lost the chances of getting underneath it to make the putout. So runners at the corners with nobody out here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and Marcus Lee striding in. Lee, the leadoff hitter for the Bridgemen. 1 hit in this game, has reached base safely, though, twice. Had that hit in the second, reached on an error by the shortstop in the 4th. Couple of groundouts as well. Lee presents as the potential winning run in this game. There's a strike for Garciga. John Raftopoulos started off this game, went 6 1/3. Ryan Rojas came in relief in the 7th inning, got 2 outs, but gave up the tying runs. And Marcos Garciga trying to finish this one off here in the bottom of the 8th. And a stolen base for Fort Lee, getting in safely without a throw to second base, and that is the tying run in scoring position with nobody out. Who wants to win this ball game? That's the question that I'm throwing out there. Cliffside Park leading by 2. Fort Lee right back in the thick of things and fouled into the top of the backstop as Lee was trying to get down the first baseline quickly. Lee has been the best hitter in the last couple of weeks for Fort Lee. Is this a bad time to tell everyone that Cliffside Park has 1 tie on the season? Could this be another tie coming? Lee takes that pitch too high. 2-2 now against the shortstop for Fort Lee. Speed on the bases with Katayama and with Perez. So a base hit would probably score 2. That missed low. And are they going to call that a strikeout? Lee is incredulous. We are as well, as you could hear it in my voice. That low pitch was called a strikeout, and I know that it's the old adage of too close to take, but on a 2-2 count, that looked like that was outside the zone, and Lee is retired for the first out of the inning. One away with runners still in scoring position. Brings up Luke Senator. 2 hits in this game, including an RBI double in his first plate appearance. Senator trying to go for the downs that time. Swung through it and missed. 0-1 the count. 2 for 4 for the starting catcher in this game, hitting in the second spot in the Fort Lee lineup. Senator with a ground ball, but just wide of the third base line and foul. So 2 strikes now against Luke. Franco Rosario waiting on deck. Senator takes that pitch from Garcia a little too high. Game that started at 4:15. We're coming up on 7 p.m. right now here. 7 innings not enough to decide who wins this second matchup of the season. 2-run lead for Cliffside Park, holding on for dear life right now. And did that pitch hit Senator? It looks like it did, and it's going to load the bases. So now the winning run is on base for Fort Lee with 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. First time that Cliffside Park has plunked a Fort Lee hitter. That brings up Franco Rosario. Rosario has 2 RBIs on the day. That was driven in on a hit back in the second inning, as he fouls that one back. Rosario reached on an error in the first, had the 2-run RBI single in the second, flew out to right field in the fourth, grounded out to third base in the 7th. Extra base hit could win this game now for Fort Lee, with Senator having great speed down at first base. That's missed in the dirt. And if you're Cliffside Park, major nail-biting experience right now. Garcia, if he were to walk this runner in, would walk in a run and make this a 1-run ball game with the tying run moving down to third. Rosario laying off that pitch up high. 2-1 in his favor. Garcia got the call of a generous called third strike against Marcus Lee. That is the only out he has been able to retire here in the bottom of the 8th. Bases loaded, 1 out. 2-run lead for Cliffside Park. Rosario fouls that one just a little tardy. Right into the backstop. You could tell he was just on that one, just by a hair was late. Katayama down at third. Perez standing at second. Senator at first. 2 strikes now against Rosario at home plate. And Rosario swings through it and does not connect, and that is a huge second strikeout of the inning and a second out for Marcos Garcia, and now Fort Lee is down to their final out of the game. And it's left to number 19, Jack Dorcom. Dorcom got that rally going in the bottom of the 7th with an RBI single. Fort Lee down to their final out of the game. Bases still remain loaded, but with 2 outs. That one is thrown low and outside the zone. Deflected off the glove of the catcher, Latan. And again, with that backstop and not taking a weird carom off the backstop down the line. It's not going to allow Katayama to think about scoring from third. Dorcom ahead of count now 1-0. Two and 0 the count now in favor of the freshman. Two hits given up, 2 strikeouts, 1 hit batsman. No runs given up yet here in the bottom of the 8th. That one, did that hit Dorcom? It did! And that's going to bring in a run for Fort Lee. And now their deficit is only 1. Tying run moves down to third base. Go-ahead run standing down at second with the bases remaining loaded. Second hit batter of this game, all coming here in the bottom of the 8th. And it brings up Max Greenberg, who again now with 1 swing in the bat can be the hero here in walk-off fashion for Fort Lee. Greenberg has 1 hit. Drew a walk his last time up in the 7th, struck out in the 5th. Had a hit in the 2nd, also flew out to right field in the 2nd when he batted it around. 1 for 3 with a walk is Max. As that pitch went to the inside. 0-2, and now Fort Lee is down to their final strike of the game. Bases loaded, 2 outs. 10-9 lead for Cliffside Park. 0-2 count against Greenberg. The pitch, ducking out of the way, was Greenberg as that was too high to handle. 1-2. Road team trying to win for the 2nd time in as many games in this rivalry. 1-2. Miss low to the outside, now 2-2. Garcia trying to secure that final out of the game, but it's so tough to come by. Greenberg just getting a piece of it to stay alive as he went for a big cut in that swing there. Again, based on the speed on the bases, a base hit for Greenberg could win this game for Fort Lee. It would definitely tie it up with a runner down at third. Pitch missing to the outside, and now things get even more interesting. A full count with the bases loaded, 2 outs, 1-run ball game. A walk would tie the game at 10-10. We've seen from previous at-bats in this inning, you can't take one too close to take. Bases loaded, 1-run game, 3-2, and we'll have to wait another couple of seconds as Garcia didn't like what he was getting and stepped off. Adding a little more drama to the tail end of this game. And a swing and a miss, strike 3. And Cliffside Park will survive here by a final score of 10-9. Cliffside Park comes back to win this one. They go to 4-15-1 on the season. Fort Lee, with the defeat, will fall to 5-13 on the season. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another edition of Fort Lee Baseball. For Dimitri Nanis, I'm Dan Long saying so long from the Sugarman Sports Complex.